excuse me. And we meet here in this room in our living room every Thursday night at 7 o'clock p.m. So we're welcoming all of you who are in the room and those who will be listening to the replay on our YouTube channel. We welcome you as well. So I am Faith Davis, and my co-host tonight is Joe Williams. And hi, Joe, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, how are you, co-host? Looking like the mostesses over there. Look at you.
The
Come
time,
on now.
the most in the time. No. No, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And we just want to, both of us want to welcome you into the room tonight. We have, I think, really a good platform tonight for us to have discussion, to listen, to learn, to impart, and to embrace. We have a special guest in the house tonight, and we have Mr. Eric Shaw Sr., who will
Yes,
come and
yes.
speak to us tonight. Once we get out all the administrative stuff out the way. So if you would like to, you can share, because we all know sharing is caring, right, Joe?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's Karen. And so we just want those who are new to the room to know that we are a community of believers. So we come together and we impart and share whatever topics or whatever is on our heart to discuss. And we have dialogue. And, most of the times when we leave this room, would even be encouraged, or we shared something, or someone has even had a breakthrough, a
Yeah.
break, like an aha moment. We have all those different types of experiences here in the room. So again, we welcome you tonight to Black Love for Singles.
Singles.
And we do have some married folks in the room as well. So it's about everybody, really. So, Mr. Joe, you got anything for us? Any special nuggets tonight
Just
before
some.
our speak?
Yeah, I can reach in my bag of.
And you got a bag now.
Let me
I
see
got a
what I
bag
find
of stuff
here.
too.
Okay, this one. Let's take this one into consideration.
Okay.
To break generational curses, you have to stop telling the lies.
Mm, stop telling the lies.
Yep.
Mm.
Um, Stop telling lies. So
Oh,
what does that say? Leave that alone. Start something new because you don't have time to waste on things that have been carried on that has no truth to it. So that was one thought. Um, have the courage to be disliked because everybody don't want to hear your truth, but truth is truth. And one person with courage makes a majority. So if you don't go along with the rest, don't think they're gonna like you. That's
mm,
the thought. And like I said, we're not here really to figure out. We're here to make maybe put some things on the table to provoke people to think. And in that helps us all just to kind of move forward. Let me do one more, maybe.
okay. One
Those
more.
who cannot change their minds cannot change anything.
Mm, that's profound. Say that one more time.
I surely will. Those that cannot change their minds
Mm,
cannot change anything.
wow. So
And
it's so it's about your mindset for
absolutely.
prepared for change. Is
You
that
know, when you think about it, Face, and we won't be long here, but we're just doing the introductory to kind of get things going. Um, Vertical. You know, most of the religions or um, different organizations that are moving in God's and in this in this godly universe, most
Mhm.
of the time the connection between God is early morning.
Okay.
where you don't take on all this other stuff of the world, the oneness with God, the prayer, the meditation. So, what am I saying? When we take all that in before listening to the news or getting on the computer or taking in all these other energies of the world that don't look like God, but if we
Mm-hmm.
line ourselves up, then we're in the right frame of mind to go through the day. Just a thought. Yeah, just a thought. So those are some inspirational things that I hope can help. And the whole idea is pushing each other forward. One of the things that, and I bring up on Thursdays, is that what Merlin has been pushing to start the year, and that is concentration and discernment. And so we must push in that direction. Um, but with further ado, you want to open it up with prayer, faith.
Sure. Also, before I even pray, I just want everyone to know that you're more than happy to come off of your camera tonight or open your mic for some discussion. If you would like, you can always drop any type of comments or questions in the chat. We would love to dialogue with you and or include whatever you would like to say. If you're not wanting to come off the camera or open up your mic, we will definitely share what's in the chat. And so we're going to go for prayer right now. Father, we just thank you, God. We thank you for this day. We thank you for getting us through this day. We glorify you, magnify you. We thank you for everyone who is in the room right now and those who are on their way and those who will see the replay. We thank you for bringing us together to be able to dialogue and discuss and just leave here with maybe a better mindset, some new ideas, some new goals, some new achievements that we want to make. So we just thank you for creating us uniquely and being able to see things a little clearer or a little bit more differently than what we saw before. So we give you our praise, honor, and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen.
Amen.
Thank you for that co-host.
Oh,
And
Mr. Oh, Mr. Joe. Well, I am so happy to have the opportunity to introduce someone who is special to me. He is a part of my family. We're very blessed to have him in our lives, and that's Eric Shaw Sr. And he is a new resident in the area of the East Texas area in Tyler. And so I asked him, like, yes, was it yesterday, Eric? I'm just gonna be transparent, right? Yeah, I asked him yesterday. I said, Eric, I think you have something you want to say. So he always has something to say. So I'm very, very thankful for him just taking the time out because he has a busy schedule, a time out to come and share with us. And hopefully he might become a part of our family, our little community. He has about 5 different communities that he's in, but hey, who's counting, right, Eric? So let me just give you a little bit a background about Eric so you kind of know where he's coming from. Okay, so Eric is a real estate investor and a life skills strategist. Hmm. Eric is a former NFL player and football coach who continues to coach people, guiding and challenging them to achieve their success goals. Eric has been impacting lives for over 20 years. Eric received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice, his master's degree in education and leadership, and is now completing his doctoral degree in psychology and human behavior. Eric is a specialist in helping people heal spiritually, emotionally, and physically so that they can become the best version of themselves. So, welcome, Eric, to the room.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here
Welcome,
too.
Eric.
Joe, Joe
What's
is
up,
too.
Joe?
All right,
Oh,
how
you
you
know
doing?
Joe,
I'm
huh?
good. I'm good. Yeah, I know Joe.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
how
I
you
know
good.
Joe.
doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How you?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome
Good.
to the room, okay?
All right. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Yes.
so Eric, I wanted to kind of share your testimony, but to give you a little background, each year we kind of change our theme as far as our
Mhm.
room, and this year we're really pushing Black love, right? And I know that you are a real talk, real man, real talk, real. And yeah, I know you've been some places, and we've all had our own journeys and what have you. But especially, you have been in the NFL, you have been a teacher in the school systems, you have been a coach, you've touched and coached and mentored, young people for a while. You got your own kids. He has a whole tribe. Let me tell you, he has a whole tribe of kids. Some he didn't even, you know, those other kids, right? And so, you just had a lot of experiences, and we just want you to come, be able to share and encourage us, and give us some of the things that you have experienced, or how your heart feels, and what your heart feels about Black love and what's going on right now. Because some of us, you know, we've talked about Black love as far as the community, or how we used to be, how we are now. Some of us in the room, we have been married. Some of us haven't. Some of us want to be. We're just in different places, and so sometimes it's kind of difficult to navigate, through this life. So you just want, you to be free to share wherever the Lord leads you.
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to learn. I love learning from others, and this is a great platform to do that. So I appreciate being invited and included. I believe Black love starts with what you see in the mirror.
Mm,
You have to start there first. Um, Without understanding what that is, how can you share love? Period. So I think Black love has to start at home, has to start within, has to start with what that person sees in themselves, and it has to start there, in my opinion.
okay. And that's where it all starts within yourself. Okay. I dig that. I dig that. This morning where I kind of, talked about leadership and also serving. And in that dialogue, we talked about, being a leader has to start with you leading yourself first.
Right.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
and so even with that, in terms of Black love, we got to love ourselves, right? We have to love ourselves first before we can love someone else.
Absolutely, because that word love is, that's an umbrella word that has fruit that comes from it, and that fruit is defined by levels of love, types of love. But when you love yourself unconditionally, you create off it. You give off an energy that everyone wants to be attracted to. And when you give that energy off, you give off that energy that's going to attract the things that you desire. So if you desire to be loved, you first have to love yourself in order to receive that love. You got to
That's
be able to give it. You got to give it within first to be able for it to filter out. So, uh, and that's when you look at it that way, I believe it creates a unconditional type of love, because that's what love is, unconditional. And if
yeah.
you can love yourself and forgive yourself, how much easier it is to forgive those uh, that might hurt you, not consciously but unconsciously, or whatever the case may be. It gives you opportunity to really see things for what they really are, and
Yeah,
not get caught up in some baggage. Because if you don't love yourself, that means you got a bag, suitcase full of luggage, dirty laundry.
that's true. Have you found, Eric, just kind of in your ventures that a lot of people don't see themselves a certain way, or they don't really, a lot of people don't really love themselves because they can't see that, and it's something that we have to teach them. And you've been in the coaching situation, and I'm sure you run into young men that don't even see their own talents, or they don't
Mhm.
know what true love look like. Can you kind of expound a little bit on that?
Well, it's kind of interesting. You made a comment about family curses,
Right.
and family curses are the number one thing that keeps a person from seeing themselves and understanding what true love is. True love is just that. A lot of times I run into people and I always ask this question, even coaching my kids, even my coaching staff, any other group that I'm dealing with grown men, I always ask this question, who are you? And a lot of times people can't answer that question. So
Mm,
loving yourself is truly understanding yourself. Um, and I run across people all the time that doesn't have an idea what that is. And a
Yeah,
lot of times they can see it, but they can't touch it. It's not a reality because they haven't been shown that. And plus, it's the baggage that we all carry. As a community, the mental space is not a focus. Um, and I think a lot, especially our young black men, get caught up in this tough man scenario where they have to be Superman when they don't understand who Superman is.
that's
Because
right.
first, they haven't been shown who Superman is. So being able to break down these barriers and these walls so love can come in, so they can see love in the reflection of looking into themselves. Because, I do an exercise with my kids about I put them in front of a mirror and I have conversations with them. And they can't look at me, they have to look in the mirror when they answer. And it's
mm,
hard to it's hard to lie to yourself when you do that. So that is the technique that I use to break down the walls. Once I get them to a place to where they can understand that they're valued and they have value, they were created on purpose. They have a purpose in the journey in life that they all have to run. And once getting them to understand that, now they can see and now we can grow. Uh, but there's a lot of young fellas, young men, and young females that just having a hard time with what that image looks like.
yeah.
So,
That's
so is that practice that you're talking about putting them in front of the mirror, is that a continuous thing where you give them certain information to say about themselves so they can believe that? Um, I guess that's one part of what you do to help them to see themselves better.
Yeah,
Is that
that is late on in the process. The beginning is just having dialogue with self. And like I say, it's hard to lie. You can lie to somebody else, but
yeah,
when you
yeah,
standing in front of the mirror having a conversation, it's
yeah,
hard to lie to yourself.
yeah, yes, yes.
And to get them to be honest about what they're feeling, what they're thinking, getting that on the table so we can address it. As we address it, we build and create other things to take our focus on this negative image of self. So in order to change, you really can't change. You have to depart from
Okay,
in order to create something new. Because if you're trying to change something, you stay there in that mindset. Because
okay.
Faith, you're right, it's about mindset. So you have to create all new. You got to rewire yourself in a sense to be able to receive growth and something new.
So in a lot of cases, you have to be the very thing that you try to get them to see by
I have to
being
be
that yourself, right?
I have to be very, very transparent. I believe in transparency because without that, how can they truly see what it looks like?
Yeah.
mhm.
And I think in our community, we don't do enough of that because, like I said, we walk around with this tough man concept and thought process, and we're protecting ourselves because we're walking around with all this dirty laundry, which is trauma. And once trauma is addressed, you can let yourself down. You can become transparent, and that's where lessons are learned. That's how you grow. That's how you move forward in life. We continue to walk around with these walls with no windows. No light can get in.
Yeah.
So can I interject something right quick before I forget? So Eric, you brought up a good point about trauma, right? And after one identifies the trauma, actually, come face to face with the trauma that has happened in their lives instead of, hidden. And sometimes I think we don't even know that it was trauma, that
Right.
impacted
Right.
us, right? So after it's identified, how do we help those who have gone through that process? And something like soul care, how do we help care for those who have been traumatized or had, certain situations that impacted their lives that they don't know how to get from the identification to that process or that journey of healing and wholeness? It's good to be healed, but it's better to be whole, healed and whole. So, what kind of tools or what can a person, or like myself, Joe, everybody in the room, if we encounter or know someone in our own household or even ourselves, how do we give ourselves soul care?
Well, like you said, the first step is to identify that there was something. Identify that there's something that's got us at a block or at a roadblock in life. And once identifying that, where is trauma stored? I'm asking a question. Where is trauma stored? In the
It's
heart.
within. Right.
Yeah, in your
In your
mind.
heart
It's
or
a,
mind and heart, probably, huh?
yeah.
That's
It
right.
starts in the heart, and what's in your heart goes to your
In your
thoughts, which is your
soul.
mind.
Yes.
In your
So
soul.
when
That's
it comes down to a condition of the heart. So once we are present with that and embracing that, then we just have to forgive. Unforgiveness, I believe, is one of the most dangerous and detrimental, the most deadliest disease in the
Yes.
world. It's unforgiveness.
mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
that tree, the fruit from the unforgiveness, if you want to call it fruit, it's very dangerous and very detrimental. And that's another thing that continues to pass the lie down from generation to generation to generation.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it has to start there. Like I said, change is not you can't undo something. You have to change by departing from it and creating something new.
I like that.
So making that change, as in, okay, I'm gonna make peace with this and I'm gonna forgive and I'm gonna move forward. Because forgiveness is not for the predator or the person that created this pain or this trauma. Forgiveness is really for the victim,
That's right.
so that the victim don't continue to be victimized or live that way to where they continue to victimize themselves. Because a lot of times we get in these habits and we start doing things over and over again. Before you know it, you don't have to think about doing it. You're just there. And then before you realize, it's too late because you don't put yourself in a situation like, God, Lee, I'm in this place again.
Yeah.
So, the condition of the heart, and then once that is addressed, now you just got to be present. You got to live. You can't. I see so many people stuck 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever the case, 30 days ago, stuck on something that has happened, and they wonder why things haven't changed. We do, and if we're doing expecting change or something different, a lot of times it's the intent on why we do. So if that doesn't match up in alignment with our actions, we're like this, we're not like this.
Right.
All that has to be in alignment.
Yeah, so
Right.
true.
So we're off kilter.
Oh
That
yeah.
well,
Off
we have
balance like a son of a gun.
Marcus was saying that I think he was identifying that we harbor those trauma, cases or situations in our soul. And for what I have acquired over the years, that our soul is like a computer, like a heart, when we have hard drive, that our soul takes in everything that has been good, bad, or indifferent or whatever, and it keeps all that there. And when an action that happens to us, that, say for instance, that was negative, and someone who wasn't even in that situation with you, somebody else attacks you or says something or sparks something up, your soul remembers that and brings that up. That's when you trigger.
Right.
And I don't know if anyone else, has that same definition, but that's what I've acquired over the years, as far as, your soul is just like a computer
Yeah.
heart. And so you have to know how to manage that and clean it out. Like we had when we talked about before, we talked about our computers, our hard drives. Sometimes we have to hit the delete button. Sometimes we have to do
Do
completely
maintenance.
start from the ground, from the bottom, all over again, and hit what they say factory reset. We have to reset, everything to get flush that stuff out.
Yeah. I make reference to it. It doesn't matter what you call it. I usually say the flesh is the only thing that keeps the memory. That's what keeps count. People
That's
say
right.
soul, because subconsciously that's the computer system that has to be addressed, because it's subconscious. It's just like when you wake up in the morning, you wake up to brush your teeth. You don't think about doing that. You don't think about going to the bathroom. You just go. That's the memories of the flesh. That's what the subconscious keeps a hold to. So when there's trauma and it's not addressed, it goes into that memory bank.
That's
So you're right, Faith. Then we got these triggers, these smells, these sounds, these movements that can trigger someone into a place of that trauma and reliving it all over again. And that's why I say the condition of the heart is so key, because if you can be free in your heart, now the heart is over the flesh instead of the flesh over the heart.
yeah.
Now you
Mm,
can maneuver. Now you're not triggered. Now you can move forward. That don't mean those things in the environment doesn't go away. They're still there. You just got a different mindset about it now. You got a different set of eyes that you're receiving all this now with.
that's good.
Well, I think too, what I'm hearing from you, Eric, is basically you have a different thought process, and from that, I like to think what you were saying about unforgiveness probably is one of the worst things you can have, because what you find with that is it's like you've been bitten by a snake. You can't reverse the bite, but you're keeping the venom in yourself,
Mhm.
and it's
Yes,
not,
sir.
and it's not
Yes, sir.
killing the other person. It's low level. It's that low level person, and the small man or the egoic man
Yeah.
always keep that person small. So what is
Hmm.
the solution in some form or fashion? Is like you say, it's matters of the heart. And when we're able to move in the direction of love and on letting God in and removing the fears, the hate, all that other stuff, then we're on the journey to the upper man, the spiritual man. So those are some of the things I'm hearing come from you that helps us all to move to the next level.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Without those things, you without that being in that order, you can't do it. See, people people think our emotions are bad, but our emotions are good for us because God gave them to us. He gave them to us
right.
for a reason. However, some allow emotions to make decisions, and emotions weren't given to us to make decisions. Emotions were to give to us just like the check light on your car. When it's time to do your oil change, the oil light comes on. Or there's an issue with the motor, the engine light comes on. Now it's time to take it in to go get maintenance. Our emotions are that. They're
Yes.
intended to let us warn us that there's something not right. So now we need to go do that maintenance. That's meditation, that's surrendering in prayer, whatever
Yes.
those things you need to do to surrender that, because we can't fix it. We can only do our part by giving it to the mechanic. And
Right.
mechanic is God. We
That's
can't
right.
do it in our own power. So our emotions are intended for that. And once things are in alignment, the heart has to be in alignment, then your thoughts are in alignment, and then what comes out of your mouth is in alignment.
It's alignment. Yeah.
So now we speak in life and not death. Now we speak in the truth and not the lie. Now we're not passing it down. We're not passing it down to generation to generation to generation. Now the secret is exposed.
Mm, mm. Yeah, the secrets, right? I just want to go to a comment that Marcus has in the chat. He says that our journey is a part of who we are, but it's not our destination.
Right.
And that's really powerful. So we might have, it's who we are, but hey, we're going somewhere else. We're going in another direction, right? And he and he also said they help us to stay checked, good or bad emotions. They help us to stay checked, good or bad emotions. So thank you for those comments, Marcus. Anyone else have any comments or want to come off their mic and interject anything before we move on? Everybody good? Everybody good?
Everybody good.
Okay, okay.
Hey, Faye, I want to test that destination piece you just said. God gives us the end. The end is created way before the beginning. The end is
Yes.
created first.
Yeah.
Then the beginning starts. But if God showed you, gave you that vision of what the end looks like, say he gave you the process of the journey along the way, if he showed you that, would you stay on course to get what it is that you desire?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Nah.
So our journey is the process, and the process has to be a part of the result, the outcome. Because the outcome is already put in place. The outcome is there. God just wants to see if we're going to trust him through the process or not.
That's right.
That's why the longest way home is the shortest way to get there sometimes.
Woo,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
profound. Because I know someone very close to me that he's taken a long way to get there. But he's getting there though. He's getting there. So you just have to, that's why it's important that our tribe, our family, our community keeps us lifted in prayer because we never know when we might, be ventured off in the wrong direction or it might take Joe 2 days, but it might take me a week. But through that week, I pray that whatever journey that we are picking up, nuggets along the way. So it's not about us, it's our journey is, our path is not about all about me, you, and everybody else. Is about helping someone else,
Right.
on the way and reaching someone and pulling them with you. That's important, and I think sometimes we forget about that's important to bring those with you when you are healthy and whole. You don't want to bring somebody with you if you're not stable. I'm not saying that, but when we're stable and we're fruitful, it's important that we bring those along the way, with us, because everybody doesn't have someone, and you might just be that one to do that. So with all that being said and what we have talked about, after we get through this, we're going to our destination, and we've seen who we are, what we need to do in order to be go to healing and wholeness. Now we're at that point now that we're able to start desiring some new things, right, in our lives. We see things differently. The scales are off of our eyes now, and we can hear. Our senses are better, because and we can taste food differently. When you all new, brand new,
Well,
when you gave your life to Christ, they say, look at your hands now. Your hands look new. You see a picture when you were out there in the world, and you look at a picture after you have gone through your transformation in Christ, and you look like, wow, I look old then. Look, I look younger here. You have that, you see that, and those around you start to see the transformation happens. And now you want to get out there and get out in the lane in terms of relationship. So let's kind of pull it into relationship. And now you feel like, okay, I think I can embrace someone, and it doesn't have to be a romantic. I'm just saying relationship. I think sometimes when we hear relationship, first thing we go to is romantic. But now relationship is just dealing with people, just dealing with, how do you deal with people in your home? How do you deal with people at work? How do you walk through this journey and relate to people in a balance, in a right sense of, how do we start going to that point to start
I,
embracing?
I think it's just about being present. I think you're using that analogy about we receive God, now we're brand new, hands different, skin is different, attitude is different. And about 2 weeks later, we go right back into a funk.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we have this God encounter, and then we think everything is fixed, or everything is this, or everything is that. Our process is that we got to continue to seek his face. We got to continue to seek to get healthy. Forgiveness is not a one-time thing. Forgiveness is a continuous thing. That's just like reading the word. You can read the same scripture 10 different times and get a different meaning from it every time. So when you forgive someone, it's the same thing. You might have forgave this person for this, but this person probably did this and this and this. So it's a process of continue to grow to be free, because having forgiveness and getting rid of that unforgiveness in your heart is freedom. So that allows you to stay present as well. So as we embark into this new life, this new way of thinking, you have to be present, and our eyes have to be focused on the little things, not the big old huge things, because the little things is where the fruit is. That's where the meat is. That's just being present in those moments. And as you embark on a relationship, now you can see. Now you're attracting. What you give out is what you get back.
That's right.
I know a lot of people don't believe that, but there's whatever you give out is what you're going to
Right.
receive. So if you're in a relationship and you attract something that comes to you, it's good for a little bit, and then it turns south on you. It's time for you to pull it back and do some maintenance. It's time to go do an oil change. It's time to go change the filter. It's time to go do something. You got to go check your heart. So just being present, man, and continue to work to be the best version of yourself. And if you're always operating in love and forgiveness, you're paying forgiveness forward. That way
Yeah.
people can offend you. And if you can live in that moment, oh, you can see all kind of things now. You can embrace all kind of things. You can really dive deep into who you are to understand the desires God has put in you, where you focus on those things and not anything else.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Anyone have any comments? Anything in the room, anything? Okay. Marcus said they help us to check good or bad emotions. I don't know if I'm seeing this twice, or oh, it popped up again. That's why I think we've already spoke to that situation. So Eric, as you have you had so many different experiences that some have never had, everybody can't go to the NFL, right? To get drafted in to the NFL experience, and it's it's quite, I mean, Super Bowl is Sunday, right? Coming up. But what and I don't know how young you were when you went to the NFL, but in that type of environment where you are interacting with so many different people and in competition, and there's a lot of brothers, in that in that community, and you see a lot. And so with that, how do or how did that whole journey from you leaving the NFL and then going into the community, for that taking what you learned, from that point and dealing with that life, and then gravitating into what you're doing as a coach, at a whole nother level.
Well, I was 19 when I went into the league when I got drafted. You can't do that
19.
now. Yeah, I was
Wow.
19 when
I
I
didn't
went.
know you were that young. Okay.
Yeah, I was really really young, and because of that, I had to first go to Canada and then get drafted. So I was only in school. I got my degrees later in life. So when
Mm.
I was in school, I left school as a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
right after the freshman season. So I was really really young when I was in the league, and it was terrible. It was hard for me. Um, just a little background. I grew up without a father. My grandmother raised me. My mother was in and out of prison most of my young life. So it was my grandmother, my grandmother, my brother. And then when my mother got out of prison, my brother went with her. I stayed with my grandmother. I was one of those family secrets, and I didn't find that out till I think 15 years ago. That's another story. But I grew up without a father in the home. I grew up without my mother not being in the home. My grandmother loved me, but my grandmother was very hard. She was beat up from life. She just had a hard time. So she was there to make sure I had a roof over my head, that I was able to eat. She taught me what she can teach me, and she had a stroke when I was 16, so I was on my own since then, living with a cousin. So I've made some choices, that's hard knock life. I had some hard knocks. I had to learn on the run. I had to learn real, real quick. So my experiences in the league taught me more about relationships than anything else. Football was easy, sports was always easy. I hated the business aspect of it because I was still young in my mind. I wasn't ready for that. I shouldn't have been there during that time. However, that was part of my process, and I needed to go through that in order to be where I'm at right now. Uh, it had great purpose in my life, even though it was terrible. It was very, very difficult. Uh, but that time taught me how to interact with folks. All these different personalities, these different behaviors, these different cultures coming together, being on a team, and all these big old egos. You talking about
Yeah.
egos, huge egos, because there's money at stake. So it taught me how to maneuver and really understand how the mind works. So when I came out of the league, I came out of the league because I got hurt. I ruptured a disc between the third and fourth cervical vertebrae in my neck. So I'm blessed to be walking and talking. And
Amen.
so coming out of that, and I started to get into coaching with one of my youngest boys getting ready to start playing ball. I got into coaching then. He was in there in high school, so I said I was gonna go ahead and coach. There's a bunch of boys that I have. And my goal was to be the father figure for those that didn't have a father and be the uncle to those that did have a father.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to go through some of the pitfalls that I went through. So the goal was to get them to understand who they are, not just who they are, but whose they are,
Yes.
and understand what their identity is. And as I moved along, I also learned that patience is key because everybody runs their race at different speeds and at different paces. And everybody wants the same thing, but everybody goes about it at a different speed, different ways of learning and understanding. So that time in life gave me patience to really dive into being present with that person. I call every team that I coached, and I did it for 20 some years. They were all my sons. So I have a bunch of kids. I call them all sons.
Yeah.
And I'm present. I'm present with each and every one of them because they deserve that. And a lot of them are coming from places where they have no clue. Some have fathers, some have both parents in the home, but still not have a clue. There are some terrible situations that the youth are going through, and it's not their parents' fault. Believe it or not, they're just doing what they know. So the goal was for me when I dealt with one of my sons, my goal was to deal with the whole family. So uh, those lessons in that time really prepared me for the next phase of life, and that's
Yeah.
what all my kiddos.
Got you ready.
Yeah.
And you still learning, right?
Yeah.
That's always the goal. If I don't get up every day to learn something, I might as well be gone.
That's right.
I don't need to be here. It's time. My time is up. I
Yeah.
want to learn as much as I possibly can because I don't know it all, and I don't
That's
want to know it all.
yeah.
I want to learn along the way because that's what keeps me humble.
Yeah. That's
Amen.
true.
Amen.
But the deepness for kids from hearing from you came from a lack of not really having a father present. Did you have a fall to realize that this is not the way, that there is a better way? And did that happen in the NFL through you having a mentor?
You said, was there a fall for me to understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, yes, and yes, 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 yes. There was several. I had to learn the hard way. Not having a role model there or a blueprint to maneuver as a man and as a young father to maneuver. So I learned a lot of lessons the hard way. Uh, Sometimes that's the best teacher.
Yeah.
I had to go through some pain.
Yes.
I really had to go through some pain, and I am grateful for that pain.
Yeah.
I am grateful for my journey in life because without that, I couldn't be what
Sure.
I need to be now. This is
Yeah.
the purpose that God has created for me and the lane that He has put me in. So I embrace all that. All that has great value.
Yes, it does.
I,
Yeah.
I had some bumps along the way. I had some crashes and run into walls and trees and anything that you can kind of think of. I have, for the most part, experienced. And I tell my children all the time, I say, look, you don't have to do what I did. Here's the cheat code. But I tell you what, it's your choice on what you do with it. Now, I got you. However, you're gonna have to learn some lessons. There are consequences for everything that you do.
That's right.
So just getting them to understand that they loved and they're appreciated and they have support. There's gonna be somebody there to make sure they're good. However, everybody runs their race, and that pain, you can't keep them away from that pain because that pain causes growth.
That's right.
But yes, I had a lot of hiccups along the way.
But let me ask one more. Did the coming of a baby change your format altogether? What I'm saying, now I got a baby on the way. Now I got to grow up and be the father that I need to be to this child. Was that, or was you already in the process of changing your direction? Or did that escalated even more.
During that time, there was a battle. There was a tug of war because I was a young father. I was still trying to figure out, who I am. What am I doing? What do I need to do? I had to see myself because of being the Eric Shaw, because that's what everybody called me. Because I got so much attention when I was so young. No one
Right.
saw me. They saw what I can do.
Right.
No one saw me. So that's the battle that I had growing up and going through sports. Everybody saw what I can do, never saw me. And having kids at a young age, I knew that I wasn't going to be my father.
Okay.
And that's all I knew. Everything else, I'm in it to win it. Let me figure it out. I got to figure it out. I've never been a quitter on anything. But I knew that I was going to make sure that I try to be the best father I possibly can. And I am still growing in that area.
Yes.
And most of my children are grown. I have 15 grandbabies. So I don't have little kids anymore. I am still growing into that fatherhood for them. I got one that was just committed a couple of days ago. He had an episode where he went into manic, and unlike anything else, he just kind of went off the deep end. And his girlfriend took him to the hospital. Now he's in treatment. And, I was sharing it with another group that I go to on Mondays, and I was kind of smiling and laughing. They were like, "That's not funny." I said, "I'm not laughing at him.
That's right.
I'm laughing at God answering prayers because God put him in a situation where now he can't run from himself anymore. Now he's
That's
got to
right.
deal with his trauma."
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all about half full or half empty for me. And
Yeah.
I'm a half full guy.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know you had 15 grandchildren.
Yeah, at 15.
15. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm not
Now,
there yet.
imagine it. Imagine the family reunion when all this comes together.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm already got a vision about it. Okay, so coach, you at the coach, level right now, grandpa, Paw, I don't know, what they call you.
I'm not neither one of them. I'm G Daddy. I ain't Pawpaw. I ain't Grandpa. I'm G Daddy.
G Daddy. Okay, G Daddy. Okay, so you have lived in various places, and I wanted to kind of get into community and as far as you know, your thoughts about our community, Black love, and excuse me, how and what do you see us going in the future, how we're going in the future, and what tools or resources can you just talk about, or things that have been on your heart that maybe we can adopt, or something that maybe we can do in our own, because everyone here lives in maybe in different areas, different places. I know you're in Tyler, I'm in Fort Worth. We have Pastor Tyrone, he lives in Alabama. So we have different places that we are, but we have the same, probably some of the same goals. But what's your view, right now in this culture about Black love? Because we talk about how it used to be, how we used to, play outside. Grandma, grandpa, we used to go to their house on Sunday, have dinner. We used to sit at the table eating, as a family. Some of those values that we had in the past, we haven't really brought them forward. I'm talking generally speaking, some people, some of us might have some of those values that we have really instilled in our family. But I think we had a little bit of talk about this last night in terms of, we have different family dynamics now. We have blended families, we have this, that, we have different roles and what we're doing. And you made a really good statement. And I just want, so you can regurgitate, what you were saying in terms of where we are as far as, those types of family dynamics.
Well, until we attack the issue. And I think the issue now is this. Until we become, until mental illness becomes untaboo and we
Mm.
start to address that, we start to address that, making it okay for our black males, especially, not just black males, but the black female, the young black female as well. However, but the black young male, giving them an opportunity to share. So I'm in a group on Mondays and Tuesdays where it's just a group of men and we become very, very vulnerable. We have to remove this stigma of these walls that we have continued to pass down from generation to generation, that we isolate ourselves in this box. I think that's the first thing, being aware and being present, being conscious of what's going on with the youth, the young adult men in our communities. It is very scary because mental illness is a big, big thing. And I believe that it's always been a big thing, but because of technology has advanced us, things have intensified even more. Black love, loving the community, get in there, get your hands dirty. I was having a conversation with mom, with your auntie last night, and I was talking about, juveniles acting out. Male children, especially black male children, and I would say all males act out when there's no father in the home. They act out because they want to feel safe. They're not acting out because they just bad kids, or they're acting out because they out of control. They're acting out because they want to feel safe and they don't. So then we act out and they do these things for someone to get, so they can get their attention, and here they come. All right, we'll put my arm around you. You don't need to be doing that. So until we get out in the community and kind of grab a hold to that, creating opportunities for these kids to kind of come in and be able to be vulnerable and not be judged.
That's right.
And because of things is just so black and white now. You do this, you this. You do that, you this. You make this mistake, you're no good. We need to throw you away. When I was in the education system, and it was just 2 years ago, talking to even not just my sons that played for me, but the whole community of kids that went to school. My school was 2,500 students. It would blow you away what they think an adult thinks about them. And everybody talks about social media and all that, but if people are engaging them, they don't have a choice to be on social media. If we're creating these platforms to do this and do that. Back in the day, if I got in trouble, mamas, grandmamas, the fathers that were in the neighborhood, or bigger brothers or uncles, you got your head knocked off all the way home.
That's right.
And that's not the case now.
Right.
Everybody's afraid of everybody. Everybody's afraid of this, and we're living in fear. And when we stop living in fear, that's the only way it's going to change. Remember, change is not undo. Change is creating something new.
That's right.
And we have to do something because it's really scary out here. I ride through here in Tyler. I'm over in North Tyler a lot, and every chance I get, I try to pull up on somebody that I see walking down the street, ask them if they're all right, just, strike up a conversation. You can just see the fear in their eyes of an adult male, especially one that looks like me, because I know I'm scary looking. But for me to get up, me to come up and just, speak and make sure they're okay, y'all need anything, blah, 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 it puts them off guard, and it shouldn't be that way.
That's right.
It shouldn't be that way. And we have to get out there and do more, especially the males, the adult males.
I think that's so true. And I feel you on that. That's why mentoring groups is so important. But again, I think even better than that, Eric, is our day-to-day walk. How are you walking? And how are you, if you see, it ain't like I'm off to Jericho or somewhere and I see somebody right here and I'm great Joe Williams minister, and then I go to the other side. Right. Because you're disturbing my walk. But that is placed in front of you to deal with.
Absolutely.
I mean, because that is maybe your test. Maybe not, but again, it goes back to your daily walk. And we got to understand the building is where we meet. The church
Right.
operates in you.
It's outside of that building.
So where Eric walked, God just showed up. Where Joe walked, God just showed up. And it ain't about you. They don't want to know our accolades. These young people, let them talk. I said, what's on your mind, young man? And they looked at you like, nobody asked us that, sir. Right. I said, you got a real one today. Come on with it.
Yeah. Right.
They got a lot to say. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't. I like what you said. We have to walk towards love, because love is the only thing that'll cast out fear. That's the only thing. So in all of that, I just wanted to comment on that. And that's where real men that's grounded in that divine self, which is a higher dimension, that's who you really are.
Absolutely.
Is a higher dimension of oneself. And that movement has to be constant.
It has to be constant. It has to be consistent. The only way to create something new, a new habit, you have to be consistent in doing that every day.
Yes, sir.
And the only way to consistently do that every day, which means you have to be present every day.
Every day.
Present every day, you're walking with God and being able to see God's marvelous works in the little things. I'm a little guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy. I might look like a big guy, but I think like a little guy because I like the little things.
That's
it's
right.
It ain't got to shine. It ain't got to cost a bunch of money. It's just got to come from the heart, and it's got to be genuine.
Yes, sir.
It's the little things. That's why when I'm introduced and they go to talking about play, but that's not who I am. That's an experience that I had in life 2 trips around the world ago. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even want, that's nothing to me. That was just an experience. That's not who I am. Yeah, if my head was on right, I would have been in the Hall of Fame. Me and Emmitt Smith and Roy Jones and Derrick Brooks, all from the same place. There's articles about me that they spoke on. All that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is, what do these kids see? How can I make them the best version of themselves? And that's not one, that's not two. The third thing, which is the first thing, how can I help them grow closer to God? How can I help them see God in them? Because when they look in the mirror, that's what I want them to see. I don't even want them to see themselves. I want them to see God. I want them to see grace. I want them to see mercy. I want them to see love. I want them to see forgiveness. And if they can see that, they can make a mistake and keep going forward instead of making a mistake and be on their deathbed.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these kids are just boom. They just ready to give up after one thing. Oh, I'm a failure. I'm a this and I'm a that. So just trying to build that confidence up, man, and just trying to be an example. I try to be as transparent as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I think the word to say, Eric, would be influential.
Yeah.
Just by your presence, by being present in present moment. And go ahead, Faith. I know we're getting down.
That's what I believe Latoya just said, a positive influence. And we talked about that earlier this morning about, your sphere of influence is so great that some people don't even know they have influence. And they should use it intentionally, right? And that how much they impact, in other people, just based on how God created you, just who you are, not trying to be somebody else, just be who you are.
That's it. That's the key. Everybody should be just who they are and be grateful and happy in that space.
That's right.
So much comparison, going on and comparing one to the other, then, sometimes we miss our uniqueness and our creative, how God created us to be or to become, right? And so we kind of downplay ourselves and we self-sabotage ourselves. and thinking that we can't do what he has called us to do. So
Why is that?
why is
Why is
that?
that? Why do we compare all the time?
Fear, doubt. We're not, well, okay, Pastor Tyrone said it goes back to being transparent. We're not telling our story. We're not being
Right.
the real person that we should be, right? Insecurities, that's right, Latoya, insecurities that we have. And so, you know, that comparison, and I hate to bring it up, social media, get out there and we have this fake, this fake view of what success is, and because they got this material stuff, and and they have this shape and this hair, and, all that outward stuff, but it's the inward, it's the inside stuff that
It's the condition of the heart.
That's right.
goes
The
back. It goes
condition of
back.
the heart.
Well,
Yes.
I want to say this from my perspective, that I haven't seen, because my family, our men are really gone. I mean, when I'm saying the older men, in my family, they're gone, and it's a bunch of women, right? Strong head women in my family. And so, and we have a lot of young men in our family. And so when Eric walked into our lives, right, he started to minister, to my sons, to my cousin's sons, and to even our girls, right? And they look to Eric as, a mentor, a father, an uncle, and we went to the cabins after I retired, and it was really beautiful. I think I have a picture of it. He got all the young men together around the fire pit. Pastor Tyrone, I know put check for that, but around the fire pit, and they started dialoguing. And my son said, "Man, that was powerful. I've never had that experience before, to sit down and be transparent and be able to talk and really, pour out, and someone, as far as Eric, to really get real and talk about, the experience of life." And so, just hats off to you, Eric, Joe, Pastor Tyrone, Marcus, for doing what you do in order to impact the lives of our young Black men, because they're going to marry our daughters, sis. In the room. They're going to marry our daughters, and we want them to be, the leaders. We want them to be elevated, and to be able to lead their families and what have you, and be good men, godly men, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's important. So just to end tonight's conversation, Eric, since we don't have many men that drop in, so we gotta pull on our brothers when they come in the room, right? So what do you feel about Black love in terms of the queens out here in the community?
Well, Black love when it comes to the queens or this, what we have to love them like we've been ordered to love. We've been ordered to, you love your wife like God loved the church. Uh, but in order to get to that place, Black love once again has to start with self, so you can be all you need to be and what you've been created to be for that queen. Also, by doing your own maintenance, by the man doing his maintenance and communion with God daily, he's doing
Yes, sir.
that maintenance where he is open to receive who God has created for him. Uh, and I'm gonna be transparent. So I was married twice. I was married twice, but once. And this is what I mean by talking about that and what trauma means. I married a young version of my mother I married an older version of my mother. My trauma was my mama. Because of our destructive relationship, it and my unforgiveness in my heart created a scenario in my life, my young life, that was very destructive. Until I figured out or found out the truth behind how I was conceived, who my father was, and all that, I was able to truly forgive my mother and let go. Once I got rid of the unforgiveness, things started to really just kind of, they was already falling apart, but really just kind of, so it came to a point where, it was time to exit a very destructive place. Uh, so loving your mate, God bringing who He has for you. You have to first be in love with God in order to receive that woman that He has created for you. At the end of the day, your intimacy has got to be with God first before you can be intimate with anyone else. Um, and that's the only way I can know it to be, because I didn't try it the other way. I didn't try it the other way a couple times.
Yes, sir.
And when I was 17 years old, I had an encounter with a young lady that I never forgot. And I can see her. I can feel these things that I felt right then at 17, and I'm 52 years old. It's like I'm in that moment right now. So my love for her, I am loving her because God loved me that way, and God gave me her. Because it's only God that put that together, because I couldn't have done that. Not in my best attempt, I couldn't have done that. So being intimate with God has to be first in order to really love who God has created for you. And once you get in that place, hey, it's easy. It flows. It flows like I'm like water now. My second half of my life. I don't. If there's something that stops it, I don't panic. I just wait and wait, and it'll flow where it needs to go. So that's what my previous life taught me. Those are the skills that I learned from that. Is that I ain't in control of nothing. I'm only in control of what I think and how I feel. Everything else belongs to God, and I get out the way now. I can't. Nope. Because I got kids at stake. I got kids to teach. I got kids to grow. I have to show them what it is to be truly a man, not what I thought it was, or not what I have seen from the environment that I came up in, because there was a bunch of pimps, drunks, alcoholics, and all that. There wasn't no strong man there. I was raised by a bunch of strong women. And I'm talking about strong. And I felt, as I got older, I felt so bad for them, because you can just see how lonely and despair that they had, and what they was living with inside. It just, I don't wish it on anyone. So I get out of the way now. I just flow. I'm a love your cousin. I'm a love of the life, and continue to love of the life.
Mhm.
And let things be what they supposed to be, because that's the way they supposed to be.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen. Amen.
Can I
Well,
ask a question? Can I
oh,
ask a question?
Yeah, go
sure.
ahead.
I wanted to first just say thank you for your transparency. Not all men will admit that they have mother issues. So that is like super powerful. And I wanted to know, how, as a woman, can you identify a man who maybe has mother issues? Like, what are maybe some characteristics we could look for?
I think to answer that question, the two that I was married to didn't have the issue I did. So they couldn't have looked for signs that I had a mother issue, because they have their own issues that resemble my issues. So I think, like I said earlier, what you give out is what you get back. And if you're in a place of peace and happiness and your heart is right, you're gonna attract the things that belong to you. If the woman doesn't have father issues, you're not gonna attract a man that has mother issues. I think it's just all about the energy. What you give out is what you get in return. So once again, it goes back to your own maintenance, making sure that your heart is right and making sure your intimacy with God is where it should be. And I think that would help you maneuver not to get in a relationship like that. Because like I said, I do believe that what you give out is what you attract. My environment was a reflection of how I felt about me. It wasn't the people in the environment. They was just participants in the party. I created the party because of how I felt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else have any comments, questions, anything they want to put on the table before we call it a night? Okay.
I think Merlin had something that also wanted us to say that on next week, hold on, sorry, that they were having Dr. Jenkins, Faith.
Oh yeah, next week we're gonna have Dr. Jenkins from Congress,
Okay.
Georgia is gonna be in the room making peace with my past, starting over. For next week in the room. So make sure that share and of course come back. But if you know anybody who would like to attend, please feel free to share the invite once it comes out. Joe, you have anything else you would like to say or anything?
Well, the thing is, I would definitely like to thank Eric for coming aboard and sharing, his heart. And we understand why he has a heart for kids. And I think that's kind of his sweet spot, if I may put it that way, that place where he operates best. And I would say to continue that process. And again, I'm like you, life is always learning because there's something to be taught. It's always teaching. So I don't think we stop. I hear people say, I've made it. And I say to myself, made it where? No, no, I mean, you don't stop learning. You got it all
where are
together.
you going? Where are
Yeah,
you
that's what I'm
going?
saying. It's a lot more of just unfolding all the time. But the one thing I love that you say, and I always say, nowness and newness, be in present moment. Because anywhere else is a sign of insanity. Present moment is here and now.
Yes,
At this
yes,
moment, let's be here to see what the Lord is saying. So I applaud you. As a matter of fact, I would want you to come back on another occasion, maybe to expound some more.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep that open if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah.
I think Regina has her hand up. Regina.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say to Eric, thank you for your transparency. Thank you for doing what a lot of men need to do. Trying to take young men under your wing and raise them to be real men, because nowadays people are so desensitized. They laugh when bad things happen. I just don't understand. Like it just blows my mind to see how the world is and how the world is going. Just like you were saying back in the day, we show out, the whole neighborhood had permission to whoop us.
Yes, ma'am.
And trust and believe they did. Nowadays these guys, they don't have the mentality of, I like Latoya, she's on this line. We talk all the time about where it seems like chivalry is dead. And why is it dead? Because so many women, they expect or they ruin these men. They take care of them. They buy them cars, they buy them rims, to where men nowadays think that you're supposed to buy for them. You're supposed to like pursue them. Like they just, everything is just so mixed up nowadays. And Latoya and I talk about that all the time,
It is
and
out of order.
it's out of order. So
Mhm.
I just want to say kudos to you, for what you're doing, and thank you. I enjoyed it tonight.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Thank you, Regina. Appreciate it. We have a role reversal going on, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Big time. Big time.
A role reversal. Oh, thank you, Marcus, for the collapse in the room. I appreciate it. Eric, thank you again so much for coming in the room tonight.
Thank you.
I'm glad you answered the phone. He was in his group meeting when I called, and he came out. He said, "What's going on? Like, is something wrong?" He takes good care of us. He knows that we out here. These sisters are out here by ourselves, and so I appreciate you. Taking the invitation tonight, and I want you to feel comfortable. To come in the room. Let's see what Marcus is saying here. First of all, I'm gonna go back. Marcus says we love light for others to see us doing well and not going through our deliverance. So we compare the good only, not how our journey has developed. And that's good. That's good, Marcus. And then he also said, what's the group? Can any man join? Eric?
Are you talking about the group that I'm in?
Yes.
It's a local group, and you have to be president to be in that group. Yeah, we meet every Monday and Tuesday, and there's these groups are in the local area of Tyler. So
He's in
um,
Tyler. So
oh, okay, yeah. Well, let's get together, brother.
can you put your contact? Um, let's see. Wait, he's saying something else. Okay. He says, I'm in Tyler and I know men who may need it.
There's
Okay.
my number.
Okay, here's this information in the chat. What I'm gonna do, since we don't have that kind of time, I'm just gonna take a picture for you and I give it to you, his information
Okay.
right there. Because I don't have the chat string to go back. So good, that's wonderful. That's what we're talking about. Connections, talking, being able to network, being able to get out there and do the work in the
Absolutely.
community. And that's so important. So again, thank you. You can always join us, Thursday night. You don't have a group on Thursday night. So when you're not busy, feel free to drop in, be a part of the room, and share.
I sure will. I sure will.
Okay. And thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you, Chick and Latoya, Mark and Cheryl Long, our other Cheryl in the room, Tamara, Felicia, and also Regina. And, this is Black Love for Singles. So, make sure for all those who are listening on our YouTube channel, make sure you come back next week where we'll have another room set up for you can hear conversation and be able to drop some things in the chat. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing, Eric. Marilyn says, thank you. And hopefully we'll all get together, maybe one of our focus group. We have a focus group that we have different topics and we meet together face to face in dialogue. And so
Okay.
we have those focus groups in different areas. Last time we had in Tyler. So the next one we have, definitely invite you to that. Okay, you all have
Absolutely.
a blessed evening. We love you guys. See you all in the morning and Breakfast of Champions. And have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right.